Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to this important webinar on cybersecurity and the investment tax allowance in Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Kirk. I am the chairman of the Digital Business and Technology Committee of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. And I am extremely delighted to be your host today as we explore this crucial initiative designed to bolster our nation's cybersecurity posture. It is clear as we navigate this digital age, cybersecurity has grown in prominence. Globally, cyber threats are becoming more sophisticated and frequent. And reports show that cybercrime is projected to reach over 10 trillion annually by the end of 2025. The financial impact of cyber incidents, including data breaches, ransomware, and all other forms of cybercrime, can be devastating for organizations of all sizes and can lead to significant financial losses, reputational damage, and loss of customer trust. The average cost of a data breach is estimated to be around $4.2 million, and this figure only continues to rise. In light of these stark realities, it is imperative for organizations to invest in robust cybersecurity measures. These investments are not merely a cost, but a safeguard for our future. Effective cybersecurity strategies will protect sensitive data, ensure compliance with regulations, and enhance consumer confidence. Investing in cybersecurity will bring numerous benefits to organizations. It will enhance the operational resilience. It will enable businesses to continue operations even in the face of threats and incidents and events. A strong posture can differentiate your company in the marketplace, making it a trusted partner for customers and clients. So there's a return on the investment. It ensures the security of your digital assets and ensures the continued operation of your communication channels. In effect, it has become a cornerstone of business continuity and ultimately your organization's success. In recognition of this need, the government of Trinidad and Tobago introduced the Cybersecurity Investment Tax Allowance program. This program provides incentives to business that invests in cybersecurity infrastructure and the associated tools and services. The program aims to encourage businesses to prioritize cybersecurity, recognizing that a secure digital environment is essential for economic stability and the growth of our country. It will allow us to better participate in the digital global economy. In conclusion, the growing landscape of cyber threats really does underscore the need for vigilance and proactivity. This CITA program, therefore, is a valuable tool for businesses in Trinidad and Tobago to enhance their posture while benefiting from tax incentives. I encourage all participants today to take full advantage of this opportunity to strengthen your cybersecurity framework and to safeguard your organizations against these threats that are always lurking. Now, it is truly my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speakers for today's session. First, we have Mr. Charles Bobb-Semple, the Deputy CEO of iGovTT, someone who I consider to be a friend and trusted advisor. Charles brings a wealth of experience in managing digital transformation initiatives within the Trinidad and Tobago public sector. His insights into the program and its strategic importance will be invaluable. And alongside him, no slouch in his own right, is Mr. Irwin Williams, the head of software development at iGovTT. I hope that I got that right, Irwin. His experience in software development is well known across the Trinidad and Tobago industry, and he shall provide us with a practical perspective on accessing the allowance. Please join me in welcoming Charles and Owen as they take us on a tour of this most important initiative. Charles, over to you.
Thanks very much, and good morning to everyone. It is indeed a tremendous pleasure to be here to share with us on the incentive that Kirk so accurately shared, the posture that the government took in the provisioning of 500,000 over a 2-year period as a tax allowance where cybersecurity is concerned, and is meant to strengthen the posture. Kirk would have mentioned some statistics, and at the end of this year, just to reiterate and make that point again, it is 9.5 trillion US valued at cybercrime at the end of this year, this 2024. And he mentioned above 10 trillion, sorry, in 2025. So it is projected to be 10.5 trillion in 2025 and continue to grow accordingly. And as a result, as we begin to offer more and more things online, we need to keep ourselves very secure. As Kirk mentioned, I will take the positioning of one that will talk us through the process and explain some of the things that apply and perhaps some that may not in this instance. And then Irwin will walk us through the program, the software itself, and share with us how secure it is, seamless it is, and convenient. So first, I would like to begin with the proclamation. This is what the Minister of Finance stated on the 2nd of October 2023. And I read, with the rapid advancement of technology and the growth of the digital economy, the increasing threat of cyber attacks means that more secured and concerted efforts are required to protect sensitive information from being penetrated. To aid in reducing this risk, I propose to introduce a Cybersecurity Investment Tax Allowance of up to 500,000 TT dollars for companies which incur expenditure in respect of investments in cybersecurity software and network security monitoring equipment. And I'll just share part of why iGovTT is presenting on this aspect today. To qualify for this allowance, the expenditure must be certified by iGovTT. And so we will share how that certification will take place and some of the things, as I mentioned, that you should consider in your shops. And it doesn't matter whether it's a small business, medium or large. This is applicable to all. Now, on the 20th of December, he further went on to clarify an aspect of it. And just look at the second part in bold. The expenditure incurred by a company in procuring for its own use. In other words, it is not applicable to resellers unless what they are applying for is something they deployed in their own environment. So, as an example, Charles Bobb-Semple, the reseller Charles Bobb-Semple, sells 10 products. Those sales cannot be claimed by Charles Bobb-Semple Enterprises. They can be claimed by the ones who purchase them once they are a registered company in right standing with Registrar General Department. And we'll speak to that a bit shortly, right? So it is not meant for resellers or distributors unless what they are claiming for is something they implemented in their own environment, right? Remember, the spirit behind this proclamation is a defense of our ecosystem. And so it is not meant for just reselling and selling and not deploying, right? So we move forward with that thinking in mind. Now, I would have shared that iGovTT is required to certify. So our scope consists of 4 areas. One, of course, we have to receive the applications for certification. And we'll share the 2 areas briefly shortly that were referred to, and they were the software aspect and network security monitoring equipment aspect, right? And we'll discuss those in a bit more detail. Secondly, the assessment of the applications will take place for validity. Now, we project in iGovTT, we will take no more than 1 month from receipt of the application to provisioning of the approval. And the reason I'm saying approval is because our desire is to approve everything, because we want our borders, our cyber borders, to be defended. We don't want persons to be suffering ransomware attack. We don't want denial of service. We don't want that. But the thing is, what could make it take a bit longer than 1 month is if, for instance, the organization doesn't provide all of the documents that are required, right? So we may have that to in and fro in. And I mentioned we want to approve everything, and we want means there is a desire and may not happen on all occasions. The may not happen on all occasions is, as an example, the purchase was made outside of the validity period. So it was made before 2024, or it was made post 2025, right? As an example. The certification documentation, and Irwin will show us that in the solution shortly. Everything is online. It is a portal that you will be logging into, confidential and private to you. Of course, iGovTT will have a view of all the applications. Inland Revenue Division will have a view of all the certificates of expenditure. That is what they refer to. And just to let me point out here, it is $500,000 over a 2-year period, 1st of January 2024 to 31st of December 2025. But does it mean that you have to make one purchase in that amount? No, you can make a purchase every day if you want. So 365 multiplied by 2 if you want. And on each occasion, submit the requisite documentation, right? And on each occasion, you will receive a certificate of expenditure. We will be keeping tabs of the drawdown quote unquote, of the 500,000 because, as we mentioned, it is up to 500,000 TT dollars. I have there that in number 4, we may have some sample auditing, right? As with anything, we may want to do cross checks, and because the spirit of this is that you submit it and you indicate through the documentation that this was implemented, right? Remember the spirit of what I said. It is not about just having a good idea. It is not that we know we need to protect our systems. It is beyond that. It is we have taken action in protecting our systems. And so there may be some sample auditing where any concerns may exist. Now, I mentioned before when I read and quoted the minister, the Honorable Minister of Finance, where he would have mentioned 2 categories, 2 areas of certification. Now, one area is software. So with regard to the software, we know that we have certain things that we learned. We know of prevention, we know of detection, the response, and the recovery. And so with regard to the prevention, we may take certain steps in aiming to prevent cybersecurity incidents by implementing protective measures. And for detection, we may deploy certain things to detect unusual behavior activities. And if something were to happen, how would we respond? And in that response, if indeed there was a breach, how do we recover? Because it doesn't make sense we doing all these things and then they get all of our information and we cannot recover. And so let me just, Kirk mentioned something very important in the start and explain and justify that this is an investment. And so let me just deep dive into that a bit, right? Remember, sometimes we only look at the request for the funds. So a ransomware attack happens, hey, I want 1.5 million US from you. Okay, you negotiate, you determine what that is. And sometimes we define the cost as that. That is not the cost. The cost is not that alone. Remember, you also have the cost of any breaches that would have occurred on any clients that you will have, small or bigger. It doesn't matter if you are a small shop, you're making your products and you're selling it online and so on, and you may have, let's say, 100 clients or 20. It doesn't matter. The thing is, you have certain pertinent information about persons. Now, if it is Charles Bobb-Semple system was breached, and I paid the 1.5 million US, and I said, well, okay, wow, that was an expensive breach, right? But it doesn't end there, because CBS Enterprises, whose information was breached, can take legal action against me now and sue my organization. So I now have legal costs and costs to settle. Another cost, but it doesn't end there. I also have reputation that I would have lost. Can persons now trust my organization that I will keep their information private? So we have all of those aspects. And here the thing, it hasn't ended as yet. Because the very thing we were supposed to do from the start, we now have to do. We now have to expand in the implementation of prevention solutions, detection, response, and recovery. So let us just do it upfront, right? So now, in some earlier sessions, I really wanted to drive it home that this is applicable to all. And so, a small shop, let me say I work from my phone, and I decided, you know what, and in a cloud environment or whatever it is, and I decided, you know, let me invest in a laptop. Well, the laptop will not classify under this, right? Because the laptop is not a security measure. However, we purchase the laptop, and you know what? I try this antivirus out for a 30-day trial or 60-day trial, and I now purchase this antivirus. That applies. That applies. Or in software, you could deploy software firewall. That applies. Any virtual private network that you utilize to ensure confidentiality and privacy, those things apply, right? Anything that we would have done for intrusion detection and prevention, those things are applicable. Now, what we did in iGovTT, we have 32 categories. So for instance, one category is antivirus and anti-malware, and the definition of that is there. Next is, as I would have mentioned, software firewall, and next is like endpoint protection, identity access management, and so on. So we have 32. It's not limited because this is a growing field all the time, right? And every day we'll monitor and include things. But to get the spirit of all the aspects of protection, detection, response, and recovery, we have 32 categories. And you can go on iGovTT, iGovTT's website, iGovTT.tt, or you could go on the CITA website, and you will see the slew of them there. So we have all of them defined. Now, one aspect that the minister mentioned is the software. But then we have a next aspect that is referred to as the network monitoring, right? Any software and so on in that arena, any infrastructure, sorry, to deal in that arena. So we have 8 areas, and we also defined 8 categories of the network security monitoring equipment. And I forgot to mention at the start, if perchance you have any questions and so on, please type it in the chat. I will look at them and answer as we move on, right? So no need to wait on the end. If it is something is not clear in the instant, feel free to ask. But because we're going to try to cover everything in this time so we understand it well, because our desire is that they use it, that we all use it, and we show the government we are taking this offer up. We want to defend our borders in terms of the cyber environment, and we move things forward accordingly. Now, with regard to the network security equipment, we have 8 categories like traffic analysis, packet capture and inspection, anomaly detection, and so on, right? And we define 8 categories for consideration. And you will also see those on our website. And as an example, packet sniffers, which are tools or devices that capture and analyze network packets, providing detailed insights in the content. And so software is captured, equipment is captured, because these are the aspects that the minister indicated. I am willing, companies are willing to invest in their cybersecurity posture. We will undertake to recompense for their investment. Now, I want you all to think of something. You do not see much countries doing that, taking a proactive approach and being willing to offer an allowance for us to secure ourselves. So again, please, 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 please take it up, take the offer up. Now, but then you're like, Charles, I hear what you're saying, I hear what you're saying. But how will I know if I'm eligible, right? And how do we submit? Well, let me, especially for some of the larger organizations, some of us are conglomerates, and you may have a company in Barbados, a company in the Jamaica, and so on. And that's great, and that is awesome to see expansions like that. The thing is, to be eligible for this item, the organization itself has to be registered under the Registrar General's Department Companies Registry and Company Act, and must be in good standing. They must be registered here in Trinidad. So, and the purchase has to also be made by that organization, right? So it's not that the purchase could be made by the arm that is in Jamaica, as an example, or in Barbados, right? Because remember, the spirit, again, coming back at the spirit is that we ensure we recompensing organizations within Trinidad and Tobago protecting our cybersecurity border. So the organization must be in good standing, and the applicant must be the end user of the cybersecurity software or network security monitoring equipment. I think, let me just check here. Right, so let me just address this, a question that popped up there, right? So, and thanks for that, Wendell. Yes, and I totally endorse that. It's an awesome initiative, right? And indeed, training is critical. Training is a platform on which we could build, as well as in some organizations, they may want to do assessments, right? But let me just come back to the spirit of it. The desire by government is the deployment rather than just the planning. So the consideration at this stage, and things could expand, things could change accordingly as the government observes the progress and the trends and how things are moving, and listen, companies really using this. So in the first instance, it's not training, it doesn't qualify. But I am saying that training is extremely important, right? Extremely important. Awareness training. Do not click on phishing emails or emails that has Charles Bobb-Semple, because sometimes they mask an email address that is not Charles's own as if it is him. And sometimes we click on it and we execute certain things. But those training and is not covered. What is covered is actual software that is implemented or the network security monitoring equipment. So the applicant must be the end user. Remember, this one is when there was the amendment to the Act. And that would have been the third slide I looked at, right? And I shared with us that it is not applicable to resellers or distributors unless they are deploying these things in their own shop, right? The spirit, it is to ensure our safety and security. So the applicant must be the end user of the cybersecurity software or network security monitoring equipment. Third, I would have shared, we really want to qualify everyone, everyone, and we want to do it in 1 month. Now, after iGovTT, the process by RD takes place, right? And they will have their processes and all those things as per any other allowances running. But we want to ensure that we do not have your application in-house for any long period of time. And so we really want to approve everything in 1 month. But it really depends on us sending, when I say the us, this is the global us as the country now, right? Sending the things to iGovTT comprehensively. And I will share what those data materials look like on the next slide. But we want you all to send it, everything. But if it is, one of the things you have to send is proof of purchase. If the proof of purchase shows it is before the 1st of January 2024 or after the 31st of December 2025, it doesn't apply, right? Now let me say this though, because if this is something you're thinking of, let me address it before. If you made the purchase within the period but claimed for it outside of the period, that is okay, right? So that part is okay, because you may, wow, I still have $10 to use out of this 500,000. Let me purchase something on the 31st of December and claim for it the first week in January. That is no problem at all, right? Let me just... Right. Good. So for the VAT consideration, VAT registered companies, the VAT exclusive investment will be processed. And for the non-VAT registered companies, the full amount, including VAT, will be processed. And so Dale would have asked a question, and so let me address that when I speak to number 5, right? Because it speaks to this one in particular. We are aware that in our environments, we may not buy software to deploy on our laptop, right? So we may opt for a subscription to a cloud environment, or persons who could monitor our systems on our behalf and things like that, right? And the allowance is applicable for any new purchases as well as expenses such as the subscriptions and cloud service purchases and license purchases. And with regard to the specific Dale's question, where Dale asked, hey, if it is there, I had something in place before in terms of a subscription, or we have some cloud service that is being provided or license purchases, will that apply? And so from my understanding, it does. But what I will do to confirm that for certainty, just allow me at the end of today to verify that aspect. But from the information that we have, that answer is in the affirmative. Because again, the spirit is for us to have that posture, and within the 2-year period, we can strengthen that posture, because it doesn't augur well for us to, well, I can't afford this anymore, let me drop it and try to survive and have my business without it, right? So, but let me confirm that for you in detail subsequently, and through the chamber, we'll provide that answer accordingly. Let me just see if this one is on this. Right. Right. So, Graham, I would say, oops, just now, next one came in. I would say, yes, they are fully, they were part of all our stakeholder engagements. They were the ones who indicated the need for the certificate of expenditure, which you will see, and we will explain all the security features that are contained within as well. So the RD team is fully informed, and they have their processes in place, All right, and then list of, right, okay. So let me take on and respond to Gerard's question. I'll do it now and then subsequently, right? So Gerard, we not taking the posture of approval by vendor. We're not looking at any vendors at all, right? So we really, and not to sound as if we don't care, but really we don't care about the vendor. What we do care about is the thing that is being implemented. Does it subscribe to some international standard? Because we do understand vendors could pop up every day, and then iGovTT will now be on the back foot, and then we'll be operating as a third world country, for want of better words. I know some people think we perhaps are, but in this instance, we are not. This instant, we probably beyond first world countries in terms of the thinking here, and in terms of how we operate in, by not looking at vendors, but looking at the fabric of what is underneath. Because we all saw what happened recently with well-acclaimed vendors, right? And that is life. Errors will happen and things will take place. But what we don't want is CBS Enterprises started a company last week. So then, okay, CBS Enterprises is one of those companies. But CBS Enterprises, and just in case there's a real CBS Enterprises, and so in terms of network monitoring and so on, the CBS is Charles Bobb-Semple, right? So let me spell it out, right? Charles Bobb-Semple Enterprises. I don't think a company like that exists that provides such a service. Charles Bobb-Semple Enterprises has a company, awesome, that is great, and he provides this service. But Charles Bobb-Semple Enterprises doesn't subscribe to any international standard. Then we can't really, what are we going to depend on there? So we went lower and said, okay, what is the lower, what is the baseline of all these things? Why is a vendor important? The reason a vendor is important is because we understand that they are reliable, they are dependable, and they dot, and they dot, and they dot, and I can have this amount of uptime and dot, and dot, and dot. And these things here are really KPI standards that they will be adherent to from some global standard. So we opted to recognize the standards rather than the organization. So let me just see if I could take these two, hardware, not the vendor. Right. No, we don't. No, we don't have a list with regard to the hardware in terms of if you purchase a Cisco device or if you purchase Fortinet device. We don't have that list. It's really the mention I made in terms of the earlier question refers to the vendor. So in terms of that, as a specifically mean the hardware, no, we don't have that list that exists. Let me just take this one before I move on. If a subscription prepayment is made to a vendor for multiple years into the future past. Oh, no, so Warren, right? Okay, so I'm going to assume I read this properly, right? So this is prepayment. Like, okay, we paying a vendor up to the year 2030. That is a very good question, and I do not think it applies because and although you made the purchase in the period, the cybersecurity posture was for the period itself. But again, with that one, let me get back to you. But from the spirit of the thing, it has to be is applicable to the security period that we're in. So although you may be prepared to the year 2035, right? It addresses our cybersecurity posture in this period, 2024 and 2025, and what was expended. But great question, and let me confirm that and get back to you on that one as well. All right, so let me move forward. And so the submission requirement. And I would have mentioned, hey, guys, we could do this in a month, but we really need you all to provide certain artifacts of information. And you will see in the demo is very simple to use. It will tell you which document to upload where, and Irwin will take us through that shortly. But really, is 5 pieces of information. One, we want the completed Cybersecurity Incentive Tax Allowance application, of course, right? You have to complete that. I would have mentioned that the company has to be registered and in good standing. The registered is the number 2, the company registration certificate. We need the VAT registration because remember, I would have shared if your VAT registered is the non-VAT part will be considered. And if you're not VAT registered, the entire amount, right? We need the tax certificate. And of course, we need proof of payment. And this could be in any form. And someone asked prior, not in this session, but prior, guys, listen, I'm seeing voucher and credit card statement, but suppose I purchase something with credit card. That is applicable, right? But the proof of purchase, you take credit card, you download the receipt and you send that receipt, right? The process is very simple. You submit, so you are the requesting company, and the company will have someone on their behalf who will be doing this, and they request the application and they upload it. iGovTT will check, and we'll review. We may have some to and fro in response, but this could be, the response here could be in the portal. You would see your certificate. This is nothing for you to, you're not coming to get a printout of anything. Everything is virtual, everything is online. All of our solutions, apart from us putting it through our own rigors in terms of pen testing and UAT, user acceptance testing, and so on, we also have the body under the National Security Trinidad and Tobago Cybersecurity Incident Response Team. They also peruse and analyze and certify all of our solutions as well. And then everything, as I mentioned, will be stored in record for your consumption and for your retrieval over this period. And as I mentioned, if it is one every day, that is not a problem, right? It's more work for us because it's like, okay, well, look, our next one came in for the same company today and tomorrow and every day for the whole year. But that is okay because it is however you could dispense of your cash to show up your cybersecurity posture. That is amazing. This is what the certificate looks like. And sure, yes, I could share it. Anna, we could share the slides subsequently. Well, no, we will share it with the chamber, and the chamber could determine how they will want to disburse accordingly. But yes, we will make it available. So this is what the certificate of expenditure looks like. Fairly straightforward. The name of the company address, some of the information we have been asking for will be here. You will see the expenditure line, which is a maximum of 500,000 for the period that we define. Which investment mode in this is this? So if it is, for example, you sent in something as applicable to both, then we will determine, well, it is made to both the software and the monitoring equipment, or if not, we will share that accordingly. There are several security features in this, and I will leave that for Irwin to share with us because you'll be seeing the QR code and signatures and so on, and Irwin will speak us through those things. Just for some background information for your knowledge, because you may want more information post this, right? And that's the question with, are you sharing these slides after? And definitely yes, definitely yes. But you may want to find out some more information. Well, the solution itself was launched on the 12th of June. That would have taken place at the government campus. And you would have seen Mr. Bacchus would have, that is our Honorable Minister of Digital Transformation, would have been there to launch the solution. If you want information, you can go to our website, iGovTT.tt. We will have, if you have any questions and so on, we have a chat facility there, or you can send us email as well. You would see we have TT Connect service centers. If your preference is to walk into a service center, there are 6 in Trinidad and 1 in Tobago. You can feel free to do that, right? Or if you prefer from the comfort of your home on any device that is connected, via email, you have info.ttconnect@gov.tt. You could call toll free 800 TTCN. That is during work hours, right? During work hours, you can also chat. So we are going to TT Connect website, ttconnect.gov.tt. You will see a chat facility is there, and you can chat with an agent. And outside of working hours, we programmed a bot, and the bot will respond accordingly. The bot is more human-like in nature now, and so will explain things expeditiously. If not, and you desire more details that the bot may not have been able to provide, a ticket will be created, and a customer service rep will be sure to contact you at the earliest time on resumption of work duties. Let me just check this before I go on my penultimate slide. Right. Yes, the certificate is used when filing taxes, and the certificate is available to IRD as well. So they have a window into the portal, and they can see your taxes online. So yes, you will get the certificate online, and it accompanies the documents that you will be sending to the Inland Revenue Division. Right. Right. So it is, yes. So you have to make the purchases first, because you have to, as one of the artifacts, you have to share with us proof of purchase, right? So you will have to ensure that our purchase is made, and whichever way. So larger organizations may have vouchers and so on, and smaller ones may opt to use credit card, or you walk into the place and you purchase with cash, and you just scan the receipt and you send, right? Any which way. As I said, we want everyone to use this, everyone. So the next slide before Irwin takes over, I really spoke to this already, where the question was asked in terms of the products, right? And we really will be looking at standards, and that is our consideration, and rather than vendors or names of products and so on. We really want to ensure that they abide by certain standards. So thanks so much. You can keep typing your questions if you ask. So while I go off and Irwin takes over, Irwin, while he's speaking, I will attempt to address any questions unless they are directly related to something that Irwin is perhaps sharing, and Irwin will address them accordingly. So just before, so Irwin, I see a next question here. Let me just, you could go ahead, Irwin, and I will take over all questions offline while you are sharing accordingly.
Okay, perfect.
Sure.
Once again, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Charles, for that in-depth presentation on the Cybersecurity Investment Tax Allowance and the management system we've built to support is what I want to take us through. I'm going to walk through an application, and I'll start with sharing my screen. And what I'm going to show on the screen is just where you can get more insights on this. I noticed somebody asked Charles for the slide deck, which we will send off and make available to the chamber. But beyond that, if you just want to go quickly now, even to more insights, you can via going to the iGovTT.tt website. If you were to go there directly, you could click the About CITA link, and it'll tell you more about the standards, the categories, the kind of software, what determines eligibility, that kind of a thing. So it's all already online for you to get more insights on. Beyond that, you can check for the FAQs. And when you're ready, you could head over to CITA.gov.tt, CITA.gov.tt, and begin the process to register and log in. Now, for the sake of our presentation and our demo, I'm going to go through such a login and registration, but I'm going to do it using I'm going to take any back room really, and take you into our demo site so that the applications you see me doing, the registration you see me doing will be done on a demo side. It will look almost exactly the same, except it won't result in neither our internal review officers, nor Charles, nor Incha, nor CEO having to do anything involved in approving the request that will come through. And I'll describe what that means in detail as we go through the process. So let's jump into it. If I were to start, having done nothing before I started registration, and the registration process is meant for firms who operate within Trinidad and Tobago, as Charles said. As this form loads up, it's going to ask me several questions about the business, where it's located, ask for indications of who are the appropriate liaisons, and of course, incorporation details. I noticed someone asked, how does if the IRD is aware of this system, we've shown and worked with them to develop it, so the information we're capturing here should fit into their process. So as you can see here from a registration perspective, it's going to ask the details about the organization, including contact information and just general information about the core business activities. Beyond that, we'll then ask you for specific insights about your company's registration. You'll notice here it's asking for your incorporation number, and if you were to change from Trinidad and Tobago to somewhere else, and you try to submit, it will actually tell you the service is only available to businesses in Trinidad and Tobago. Charles did mention that this approach of shoring up a country's posture in terms of cybersecurity by offering a tax allowance like this is fairly unique, if not unique, in the world. So we are, again, leading the world in one of the services and solutions we've created as a government. You'll notice here as well, we're asking for a VAT registration number. If you don't have one, and you don't fill it in, we won't ask it later on, but every application that goes along, if you do fill this out, we'll expect to include the same VAT number. For the person who is authorized to conduct this business, including submit this form, we'll ask for that person's contact information and their position in the organization. And then finally, we request a login. I'm not filling this out because I just created an account, so instead I'm going to take you to a logged in account already, but as you can see, the kind of information we're asking for, nothing that should be too arduous to provide. Let's pretend I went ahead and I logged in, and now I'm part of the Rona and Daniel Trading Organization. One of the first things I might do is come to the dashboard, and then coming there, go ahead and see either existing applications, I made one before, or make a brand new one. So let's walk through this process of making a new application. You would notice as well, I'm going to flip back to an email address that I'm using for this demo. I want to be clear that there are separate users we expect to participate in this. There's the organizational user, the person who's logged in and uploading the information related to the purchase. But there is also a review officer internally at iGovTT, and then we have other stakeholders. Literally, we have a members of staff who review the applications, and then every application is signed by both our Deputy CEO, who presented this morning, Charles Bobb-Semple, and by our CEO, Dr. Incha John, so that you would see those roles represented in this demo, although you would see me kind of pretending to be all those characters in this demo. So going through the application, kickstarting to do it.
Email for Olaf right now, right?
Right. Going through here, we can see this is if you need to make any changes before submitting the application to us. You don't, if there are no changes needed, you could press on. This organization included a VAT registration number, so that's going to be part of the application's process. Once we provide information about the persons who run the organization and so on, this particular application, we do need to know what part of your financial year this expenditure is related to. So the legislation that Charles pointed to underscored that this is for 2024 and 2025. So we're going to get a date representing whatever your financial year is. Let's say it's in April or March or whatever. So for that start point, and then go ahead and add the expenditure details. We added a form to help you kind of walk through the expenditure and allow us to categorize where it's coming from. So if it's cybersecurity software, so a friend of mine reached out to me very recently. Listen, someone tried to hack me via my phone, and I want to get some software to help with mobile monitoring the traffic on my network. She may come across here and walk through this process. Let's say she wants a device management of some sort. And to mind you, as Charles said, this is you have many purchases and then apply for the allowance afterwards. Let's say this was a networking monitoring application. Now, this is the name of the application. Most likely, if you purchased it from some supplier, fill in your appropriate details in terms of purchase orders and receipt numbers, along with the receipt dates. Again, it should be in 2024. If she has, let's say, multiple branches and she wants to purchase multiple of them and it costs her about $75,000, she can go ahead and indicate these details here, along with whoever it came from. Let's say it was CBS. Charles, you mentioned it, so I'm assuming it doesn't exist.
No problem. You can say Charles Bobb-Semple.
Charles Bobb-Semple Security. And he is located on Newtown Street. So, right, so you put, of course, the proper details for this. This is not a subscription. Or you know what, for this one, and it kind of doesn't matter in terms of whether it is or not. We support subscription models or one-time purchases. Someone mentioned a question about if you bought from now until 2030. I believe you need to work out what that means at the IRD level, but you can enter the details here. And let's say this went until 2025 for a year, a little more than a year. Press through with that as one aspect of the expenditure. So this is a software purchase. You can also add some hardware as well. So let's say you had some network monitoring equipment for intrusion detection, for example. We grab a bunch of the suppliers. It may not be on the list, in which case just put other and indicate who the supplier is. Say it's local, but great cyber security firm. And then you go ahead and indicate what the name of it is. Let's say it's NIDS 2024. Again, purchase order, receipt number, receipt dates. For this in April, and you bought just one of those at the cost. So one of the things that as I enter these figures, sometimes the purchases can be a lot either to treat with out of band if you're trying to protect yourself from the increasing number of cybersecurity attacks, or you may just be asking, well, where do I get the funds from? One of the allowances to help us answer those questions while protecting ourselves. So again, let's say this came from network security for CT. They're located at 2 Newtown Road, right next to Charles. Right, and it's not subscription based. Save. I see. Enter. We have a total here for the total cost for this particular application, and then we press through. We're going to ask you for documents related both to the business as well as the expenditure. I'm going to just walk through on my file system to get some of those documents. These are samples, of course. These file types, we're expecting PDFs or images. So once I just upload a few of these, just really by way of example. We'll go ahead and add the documents related to your registration. Of course, because a VAT number was specified, we'll ask for that as well. You don't have to include an audit report, but depending on the size of the purchase, you may ask you to demonstrate you've had some professional support supporting it. because this particular, oh, sorry, let me correct that. This particular application has a total expenditure exceeding 100,000 TT. You know, this is before it was 180,000, I believe. And therefore, our mandate is please provide a report from a security professional who has reviewed the purchase and can confirm that this purchase is a valid cybersecurity purchase. If the application is coming in under $100,000, we won't, the audit report isn't mandatory. So now for all the purchases, we're asking for the purchase order information as well as the receipts for those purchases, and you see how we use it when I get to the second part of this demo. Finally, for the receipts. Then we press through onto the next stage. So before you submit to our team for review, we let you review the information associated with the account, associated with the application and the allowance amount you're seeking right now. You can make changes if you need to, and if not, move on to the next stage. I declare that this is valid and I have not provided any false information. Go ahead and agree with that and then finish. So finish here means this stage is finished. This part of the application is going to be processed by the team at iGovTT. And now what I'm going to do is show you what that means for us. While this is happening, we provide alerts and notifications both to you and the team members at iGovTT. I'm going to go across here to show you what that kind of looks like. So the email address attached to this particular account, the account I just used is for an organizational user. This is a demo software, so you would see a bunch of different email addresses here. In real life, everyone will have their own inboxes. So this one says, listen, an application is just submitted. So you have a record on your side that we received a new application. And as you're clear on this process, it allows us to troubleshoot if there are any issues that turn up, that kind of a thing. Beyond that, our review officers also receive information that a new application has been submitted. So let me show you what happens once we do that. So this particular screen represents the organization that is requesting the allowance. I'm going to move on to a screen representing iGovTT internally, and you can see here there's a new allowance request that we're going to process. And you pause, take a look at any of the questions down the bottom. I see Charles is answering quite a few of them, so that's really good. Thank you very much, Charles. So you can see this is in the status of pending. On the iGovTT side, because we can have a number of reserve officers, I'm going to reserve this. Review officers, I'm going to reserve this so that my colleagues know it's being treated with. And so I have a view of all the information that's been provided for a particular allowance request. So here, I'd focus on the financial details. I can view the purchase orders that were sent. I can also view the receipts. And if there are any issues, I can actually request an update from the business making the request so that we can get clarity before we move on to the stages. So as you can see, I can see everything. Once I'm fine, if there are no issues, then I can indicate to my team, I reviewed it, there are no challenges, it looks good to go, and we update the stage. What happens then is Charles, in the production application, as I said, we're in the demo side of things. This is what developers use to make sure things are fine. Charles, when he sees that, Charles will get a notification, and let me go back to that email to show you. So he would get a notification saying, listen, there's an application that's been reviewed. Please check it out. I think Charles mentioned a while ago, we anticipate that the overall workflow for this could be about a month because, of course, I'm working through this very quickly, but in real life, a review officer is looking at every file and relating the files to what the security professionals, sorry, what it relates to in terms of cybersecurity and whether the requests are valid or maybe in need of some review. So once we've done that, our signatures then get applied to the document, first by our rule for Charles logging in. So this is the organization user currently pending this review here. It's been handled by the review officer, and then we go across to the deputy chief's executive officer's view. As Charles mentioned, we apply best practices around security. So you notice I was logged out for a while and it made me have to log back in. So Charles can now log in as user and see this particular application. You can see the stage it's at. He can view a history of it to see if there were any challenges, if there was any back and forth on it. And once he spends time on it and he's okay with it, he can approve it. Now, our approvals aren't just clicking on it. We actually sign the documents and pass them back over to the businesses requesting the allowance. So they can communicate that to the board, the IRD. So once the approval gets attached to the document, attached to the process, Charles will then sign it as prompted by the system. So let's give it a minute to log in. Some really good questions in the chat, Charles. Hope you're having a good time. So let me close that. So you'll notice here, Charles now has one document to sign. We're using the international signature firm DocuSign for this process. So documents will be verifiable as having been signed by members of staff by iGovTT. So let me log in. Once I log in, I can view and apply a signature to the document. So let me say sign. And Charles showed in the presentation a while ago a snapshot of what this particular certificate looks like. On the certificate, it will include information about the company, as well as the value of the purchase, the category of whether it's software or hardware, and we can then apply signatures to it. So I'm going to say sign here. You'll see, just for the sake of this demo, it's going to see one of my colleagues. His name is Devanan. I think he's watching. So Devanan, good morning. How are you going? Hope everything is all right. And we can say finish. So this has one of two signatures on it. Once Charles is finished and the process moves on, it will then get to the CEO's part to apply for him to review and then sign as well. All right, so that has been signed. Charles will have no more documents to sign. And now, as I mentioned before, we provide notifications to our team. So now the CEO has got the notification. Document was just approved by the CEO. So Dr. Mia-Jean can jump in and apply his signature as well. So we'll go over to that side, which is the CEO's view. Again, these are different persons logged into the system with different rules. In other words, it's not one person doing this in the real process. In the real process, there are different individuals who are signing on with different responsibilities. So you'll see here, there's one document for approval. And you can go through and see all the details, see the history as well of the activities performed from the review officers all the way up to the CEO and now to CEO. You can also apply an approval to it, including any notes if necessary, and then choose to save changes. Once he approves, the last step is to apply a signature on this particular application. So he can now sign this document. Again, we're using DocuSign, so the documents that are produced, the software, the PDF documents produced, if you open it up in an appropriate view, like Adobe, for example, you will see it was signed by these individuals. So let me hit continue and then choosing to sign. I'm going to change this just for clarity, use my name. Replace that so you can see the signed by Devanan and now signed by Irwin. And hit finish. Great. So that actually represents the end of an application process from our side and iGovTT side, but you might not know that we were done until you get some notification, which is where going back across to emails, the original organization making the request, Roland Daniel, your application has been, the certificate approval for your application has been provided from iGovTT, which you can now furnish with your income tax sent across to IRD. So if I go across, so this is the mail account. If I go across to log in as the person who's made the application, which is the organization I use, you can see I did one earlier today and I just did the second one. You can view it. And one of the things I want to show you with this particular document, in addition to being signed, so this information here shows it was signed by a verifiable credential coming from both Deputy CEO and CEO. There's a QR code as well. This QR code, if scanned, will take you to the certificate. What is that? Why is that important? For some processes, you may just have to print it out. And when you print it out, you do have the virtual verification. But that's where the QR code comes from. It provides a URL. Let me pull that up really quickly. It provides a URL. I'm going to scan it here so we can see where that URL goes to. You scan this guy. This URL here is that certificate. To scan it, use your phone to scan it. You can pass it on to an agency like the IRD. And if it's a physical document, the ability to verify was generated by this process provided by iGovTT. So that's it for the demo. Any questions about that? If not, Charles, I'll pass back over to you. I see, while waiting for Charles to come on, I see there's a question here from Hamati on, can more details be provided in a report required where expenditures over 100K? That's a really good question. I can't do it right now, Hamati, but what I'll commit to do is having our communications team provide an update. There'll be a post on our site that specifically answers that question, and maybe other places, social as well. It's a really good question, and we'll give you insights on it later on. I see again also, are we certain that the certificate is to be attached to the corporation tax declaration form to the IRD? However, if the form is adjusted, to upload the certificate, then this answers the question. So we've been consistently talking to IRD about this process. They will have some clarifications of their own in terms of how we treat with this particular allowance. From my own experience, we've had allowances come out before, and certainly IRD has provided guidance as to how to use it. So we're looking forward to hear from them. What we endeavored to do was respond to the minister as quickly and as safely as possible in terms of this very, very innovative approach to protecting the nation, really, in the context of cybersecurity. Charles, back to you.
Well, that's a very, I endorse what Colleen said. Colleen said, very thorough demonstration. Thank you, Irwin. So I just want to thank at this time the Chamber for the opportunity. We, of course, will respond to any additional questions that you may have that we didn't respond to today, or some questions may have popped up in your mind subsequently. Please feel free to email them to us. We would have shared the contact details. Go to our website, go to the TT Connect site, engage the agents, whichever means. If it is you want to use the chamber as the conduit, whichever means, we will accept and we will respond as judiciously as possible. And anything that we may have that may be outside of the scope of iGovTT, we certainly will communicate that accordingly with the Inland Revenue Division. So thanks very much, Irwin, and thanks to the Chamber for the invite, and thanks very much, and back to you, Kirk.
Thank you very much, Charles and Owen. And I want to really congratulate both of you for what I consider to be a really informative and an excellent presentation. I think, Charles, you said that this represents a unique proposition in the world. And I certainly think it is. I think the times that we live in, the dependency, the thrust towards digitization and digital transformation, we need to pay close attention to our cybersecurity posture and the risk associated with operating in such an environment. And I think that this goes a long way. It demonstrates a type of progressive thinking, and we certainly encourage our members to participate, to take advantage of the opportunity to invest in their own security, to enhance digital trust within their customers, so that we could promote the improvement of our national economy. So thank you. Excellent work, guys. We're going to take all the questions and share it with you. If we need more information, we'll reach out. If anybody, any of the participants here feel the need to have their own personal presentation, I'm promising on behalf of iGov that they will be only too willing to come and share, because we want the take-up of this. This is a critical element of our national security and our advancement. So well done, guys. Congratulations. As we move on, I just wanted to mention, you're going to see a survey pop up in the chat, and I'm asking that participants take the time. We at the committee, you know, based on the questions that I have seen here, by all accounts, it looks to be, this event looked to be a fairly successful one, and the success in terms of transferring the information. So you want to get your feedback, because we intend to continue rolling out webinars of this nature in our, what we call our digital transformation series, on a host of topics. In September, we plan to have another event. We expect this to be a face-to-face event at the Chamber's premises, where we're going to do a little deep dive into AI, topic of the day, but our focus is on actually using AI to enhance your business operations. We want our membership to use the technology to enhance the bottom line, to encourage the business. And we're going to put on a session with one of our partners, where we're going to give you some real life use cases that you could apply in your business, not science fiction, but science fact. You're going to be able to use it, and we hope that it is not something to be afraid of, and it becomes part of your day-to-day operations. So look out for more. We'll be sharing on this as we move on. Finally, I want to also mention the Chamber. We would have put out a statement regarding the recent incident last Friday with the global provider. And we just want to emphasize the importance of paying attention to operational resilience, business continuity management, and planning in organizations. It is something that, as we become more reliant on the technology, we need to pay close attention to, because an incident of this nature is always lurking somewhere. And the real, and what we want to emphasize is the need to be prepared. We may not be able to prevent, but we can be prepared and be able to respond appropriately. So once again, I want to thank the team on behalf of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Owen, for a wonderful presentation. The participants for the fantastic questions. I saw some questions there that I didn't think about, and it educated me. So thank you. And we look forward to participants joining us at our next event. Thank you very much. Have a good day, everybody.
Take care, everyone.